and a program providing a reward for those who provide critical information on those who violate the federal law against animal fighting.
Good evening, Guam. Guam Chris Barnett in our top story. And another one. Another anonymous letter about the Guam National Guard. But this one bashes on letters that were bashing on the Guard's command staff. Here's more. The latest letter about the Guam National Guard sent using the Guard's email distribution list, meaning it pretty much went to every soldier serving in the active Guard Reserve. Several Guard members forwarded the letter, which was sent from the address guguardforever@gmail.com. The letter solicits support to, quote, combat the insider threat, and it goes on to name 2 high-ranking Guard officers who have, quote, embarrassed the organization by sending the 2 anonymous letters to the news media and the governor. The authors of this letter appear to have written another letter that targeted several Guard officers, including an allegation made that this group of officers helped cover up the Parkinson's of a former adjutant general. Now, in response to that, former TAG Roderick Leon Guerrero tells KUAM, quote, as a federally recognized general officer, I'm required to get my physical exams at an active duty military installation. I get my exams at Naval Hospital. I do not have Parkinson's disease. I have tremors that are documented in my medical records. That does not disqualify me from service. The latest letter threatens to, quote, tell the truth about the officers and their followers. They don't deserve the rank or the uniform. They betrayed our organization and everything we stand for. The day they leave, our organization will be the day to celebrate with fireworks and a liberation parade. Biba Guam National Guard, it reads. Meanwhile, Guard spokesperson Major Josephine Blas tells KUAM the Guam National Guard is in receipt of all 3 letters, no matter who the authors are or if the letters are for or against the current leadership. The letters and its contents are a distraction to the Guard's mission and only paints a dismal picture of this excellent organization and the great things our soldiers and airmen do every day. In other news, a congressional watchdog group calls out our congressman for excessive spending. Here's more. Guam Delegate Michael San Nicolas is on track to overspend his congressional office budget. That's according to a report posted on Legistorm, a web-based platform that researches, verifies, and publishes information about members of Congress. The report said San Nicolas has already spent 80% of his budget, while the average member of Congress has only spent 62% of their budget. In his 9 months in office, Congressman San Nicolas has racked up $204,000 in taxpayer-funded travel expenses. His travel spending includes roughly $49,000 on airfares in the third quarter alone. From June 13th to July 4th, San Nicolas spent $17,581 on airfares and $7,000 on hotels. Now, according to Legistorm, official congressional spending reports, quote, do not detail where San Nicolas's office traveled to rack up $204,000 in taxpayer travel expenses in 9 months. The Legistorm report points out Guam's distance from D.C. is a factor in how much of a budget a district member might get. But according to congressional spending documents, San Nicolas still outspent his counterpart to the north, CNMI delegate Kalili Sablan. While San Nicolas spent $94,896 on travel costs in the third quarter, Sablan spent only $40,774. San Nicolas continues to outspend Sablan in the first 3 quarters. Guam's delegate spent $1.1 million of his budget, while Sablan spent $803,538. Meanwhile, according to San Nicolas's spending reports, several staffers again received raises this quarter. This time, Executive Assistant Benji Perez's pay went from $68,332 to $75,000 annually. Executive Assistant Committee staffer Eli Pinedo's pay went from $55,000 a year to $62,000 annually, while Maria Umbrero and Carla Tele were each paid $7,500 for a month and a half of work. Umbrero performed constituent outreach, while Tele was a temporary employee. District Director Jennifer Wynn received a raise and a new title. Wynn is now the District Deputy Chief of Staff for San Nicolas's office. Her salary went from $85,000 a year to $95,000 annually. A request for more detailed travel information was sent to St. Nicholas's office. However, the congressman chooses not to respond to KUAM. In other news, a $2,500 reward is being offered for information about illegal animal fighting that leads to a federal conviction. The mainland-based Animal Wellness Foundation and Animal Wellness Action Group announced the program. They've also launched a public awareness campaign that specifically targets the U.S. territories where cockfighting will be banned effective December 20th. More information is available on the website endcockfighting.org. Tips about illegal cockfights can be sent to Animal Cruelty Tips at animalcrueltytips.com or the U.S. Attorney's Office. Federal law prohibits all forms of participation in cockfighting, including in attending an event. Former Miss Guam Chanel Cruz Jarrett is a spokesman for the group. She said, "I'm convinced the people of Guam care about animals and want to see the winding down of cockfighting on our beautiful island." Well, the governor is moving some $5.2 million in lapsed funds from various agencies, including GPD and DOC, to pay for a shortfall in retirees' health benefits. But Magahaga says the money transfer won't impact the much-needed hiring of police and corrections officers. Nestor Lecanto has more in this report.
The governor says most of the line agencies wound up fiscal year 2019 with lapses. An example, she said during today's press conference, of her administration's fiscal discipline. And they're now tapping that money to fill other pressing needs like the retirees' medical and dental.
The medical premiums and the life insurance and dental premiums were under budgeted. And so they had to meet their obligations and we had to pay the premiums, but the money wasn't there. So we are taking the lapses now to make that whole so that we can prevent increase in the deficit.
The police department was among the agency's tap, this despite the administration's push to hire more police officers. But the governor says the money they took won't slow down that process.
They have a total of $1.7 million in lapses, in addition to an increase in their budget for fiscal year 2020 of about $3 million. So they have a total of about $4.7 million that they can use for personnel funding.
She says they're working closely with Police Chief Steve Ignacio and DOA to get the recruitment processes going. Budget Director Lester Carlson.
DOC is another example. As the governor mentioned, we prudently went through the lapses to ensure that the maximum amount of continuing operational capacity for DOC and GPD was secured while still being able to pay our obligations.
In sum, all lapses totaling $5.2 million have now been reallocated. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Meanwhile, the government is still sitting on some $22 million in over-projected revenue, but the governor has cautioned senators that it will be used strictly to reduce the government's accumulated deficit. The legislature is scheduled to meet in session next week with about a dozen spending bills in the hopper. But the governor says she's been talking with Appropriations Chair Senator Joe San Augustine about other ways to come up with the money.
And we're looking at how we could address some of those bills without having to go into the funding source from the that I want to use to retire the deficit. And so some of those are already being addressed from the budget already. And the commitment that
Speaker Tina Barnes says the plan is not to discuss any spending measures, only the local war claims bill.
Held off based on what was to be committed to this body, and I think that the administration has shared with us that we want to pay our World War II survivors what they rightfully deserve. As each day that passes, we have more and more of our Menamco, our survivors, leaving us.
The governor says they're looking at Section 30 funding or other federal reimbursements to pay the claims. Hey, stick around for more news here on Primetime. You're watching KUAM.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Yo, Jay, you sure you want to be washing your car right now, man?
Not now, Kevin. I'm washing Betsy, and she has to be spotless, bro.
Clouds are coming in fast.
It looks fine to me.
Look again.
It looks fine, Kevin. It looks fine.
You know what makes more sense than Guam's weather? Using your Bank of Guam credit card at any Shell station to save 6% on gas purchases. Call, click, or visit for more details. Make more sense. Bank of Guam, the People's Bank. Member FDIC.
Half the day, I'm in the club.
Half a day, welcome to Two Lovers Point.
Half a day, I'm in the club.
Okay. Can I meet Alan, please?
Attention passengers of flight AJ3004, your flight has been delayed.
It's the flavor that makes you go, woo. McDonald's new spicy barbecue glazed tenders and chicken sandwich. Made with tender, juicy, all-white meat chicken.
Available in 4, 6, or 10-piece chicken tenders. Try the spicy barbecue crispy chicken sandwich too.
Sanctuary exists to improve the quality of life for Guam's youth experiencing family conflict in an effort to preserve family unity. Our services include 24-hour crisis intervention, temporary safe refuge, counseling and prevention programs. The reality is, Guam as we know it has changed. The family unit as we know it has changed. Now is the time for us to step in and help youth and families help themselves. Support the magic of giving.
It's a special delivery to your inbox every week with your KUAM News Roundup, program advisories, and promotions. Sign up for the weekly KUAM Digital Digest today on KUAM.com.
Welcome back. The Department of Corrections is at 50% of essential manpower to run the facility, and Guam policymakers question why the administration has not called a state of emergency. Here's more from this afternoon's Senate Committee on General Government Operations, Appropriations, Housing public hearing.
I remember the last time you had a state of emergency that was called at DOC is when you had 230 officers at DOC at the time, and then this was done many years back where a state of an emergency was called, and now you're at 160, and that's really the opportunity for the governor to call a state of emergency. Has she called in a state of an emergency for DOC yet?
No, ma'am. No, Senator, no.
Wow, okay. So I don't think she thinks that's a big issue if there's no state of an emergency and you're only 160.
Testifying on behalf of the Department of Corrections Acting Warden Major Antoine Uggan tells the Senate Committee on General Government Operations, Appropriation, Housing that currently from the warden down to the lowest ranking security guard, there are 157 Department of Corrections employees.
Out of that, I have about 8 that are on military deployment. They come back, I think in April or May. I have some that are on medical profiles, limited terms, and things like that.
How many officers would you need optimally to run the Department of Corrections in a perfect world?
In a perfect world, sir, to meet all the standard operating procedures as written and all the different posts and 18 housing units and all the requirements, I would need about 320 officers.
At 50% of the necessary manpower, Bill 227-35, sponsored by Vice Speaker Talina Nelson and co-sponsored by Senator Joe San Augustine and Senator Jose Terlahi, appropriates an additional $500,000 from the unappropriated general fund balance at the end of fiscal year 2019 to the Department of Corrections to conduct a correctional officer recruit cycle for the next 2 fiscal years. And during the public hearing on the measure this afternoon, Major Uggan informs the Guam lawmakers that the Department of Corrections Director has been working with Governor Lou Leon Guerrero, and they are in the process of hiring 44 officers before January. However, multiple incidents outbreak from the jail, and senators question the status of the agency's Special Operations Response Team, or SORT unit.
In the beginning of this administration, due to our shortage of officers, that we lost a few more due to retirement and just transfers and stuff, we've had to disband them. We've had to disband them and put them part of the platoon. So some of them are on transport, some of them are at the other housing units, some are in Agana.
Is it your position, representing management, acting warden, that the additional recruits would then translate to reestablishing SORT at the Department of Corrections?
Yes.
Major Uggan says their ultimate goal is to increase training so that more officers would be able to respond in similar or like matters more on their own. And the legislation forms a system for when there is a vacancy, immediately a recruitment process would be in place. Committee Chairman San Augustine concluded the public hearing with announcing a message he had just received from the Office of Finance and Budget, saying the agency is funded for 50 vacancies that are available within the budget. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Adriana Cotero.
In other news, a man crashes into a park honoring Santa Maria Comelin on a day set aside to honor Santa Maria Comelin. The scene of the crash captured in this viral video making the rounds on WhatsApp. Molesto Mayor Ernest Chargalov said the accident happened last night in the village. Yesterday, of course, a Gov Guam holiday honoring the patroness of Guam.
They're investigating the auto ran over roadway and it rammed into the Santa Maria Comelin Park. So I went down there, and apparently the driver, after in the accident, he left the scene. As far as the information, I believe the officers interviewed the witnesses that were there to see what happened and see the driver himself. So I believe the police have an individual that they, of interest.
The viral video of the crash aftermath shows damage to several parts of the park. Eyewitnesses Steve Cruz and Mike DeHodzi were on the scene and can be overheard on the video saying Santa Maria Comelin protected the driver, who police sources say is still at large. Cruz tells KUAM, quote, while decorating the park last night, this car came down the hill and crashed into the park. I saw the car go airborne and flip, and it landed between the statue and the gazebo. Cruz said the driver fled the scene when he was told police were called.
You put, the religious belief and the thinking. So it's God's blessing that it wasn't damaged.
Mayor Chargalov said the items damaged in the park will be replaced and repaired. He said many of the items damaged have been in the park since former Molesto Mayor Buck Cruz's time. Well, in other news, drug defendant Leighton Borja appeared in Superior Court for a trial setting. However, the hearing was continued as the defense is waiting for discovery. According to Borja's attorney, Charles McDonald, they're in contact with the Office of the Attorney General and have a meeting scheduled for next week to discuss all discovery. Judge Anita Sokola further asked about Borja's federal case and was told it's on hold because they're waiting on this case. Judge Sokola said, "Why are they waiting on us? It's usually us waiting on them. That's odd. I feel honored." Then requested the AG to find out from the federal government what the holdup is. Trial setting was continued to December 18th. Well, it was a rude awakening for a man in Ordot who awoke to a stranger at the foot of his bed with a knife. And court documents state Mario Joaquin Espinoza Jr. tapped on the victim's foot, pointed the knife, and demanded money from the victim. Espinoza then demanded the victim give him his room air conditioner, but he refused, saying he'd have to ask someone named Jack first. Espinoza then threatened the victim by putting a knife up against his chest. The victim then carried the aircon unit to the robber's white Toyota Corolla. Espinoza was charged with home invasion with a special allegation of possession and use of a deadly weapon, as well as second-degree robbery. The U.S. Department of Labor has issued a fine to local bakeries, a new fresh bread bake shop in Dedido and Cafe Panadero in Jigo. The company will have to pay over $108,000 in back wages and liquidated damages to 20 employees for violations of the Fair Labor Standards Act overtime requirements. The employer was also assessed over $7,500 in civil penalties. U.S. DOL Wage and Hour Division investigators found the bakery's owner, Zenaida Milano, failed to pay employees overtime at time and one-half their regular rates of pay when they worked beyond 40 hours in a work week, as the law requires. Instead, Milano continued to pay employees their straight time rates for the overtime hours. The employer acknowledged not paying overtime and told investigators that employees agreed with the arrangement in order to secure more hours of work. Well, it's been a while since Guam bore the brunt of a catastrophic typhoon, but the Guam Homeland Security and Office of Civil Defense hosted a seminar today, bringing together all the key players in the event of a superstorm. They also flew in an expert from the Naval Postgraduate School's Center for Homeland Defense and Security to lead the discussion. Deputy Associate Director David Fukutomi says a small isolated island like Guam faces very unique challenges.
The first one is the tyranny at distance. On the mainland, we can drive, walk, carry, fly, cart resources, people, supplies in. And even in the worst disaster, at some point you can go to a part that's not affected, the next community, the next county, the next state. And an island disaster, whether it's here in Guam or CNMI or American Samoa or the Hawaiian Islands, you have what you have for a while.
Representatives from local, federal, and non-government organizations attended the seminar. Fukutomi says collaboration of all the entities and setting priorities for the limited resources available is a key.
Everybody has to work together to pool together their limited resources and expertise, whether it's the military from the Joint Region Marianas to the Coast Guard, to the Red Cross, to the Salvation Army, to FEMA. All have to work together even more closely here and setting priorities about how you use those resources, because there's just not enough to go around initially.
Fukutomi was here with FEMA after Super Typhoon Pongsawa in 2002. He says he's seen growth in Guam's resiliency, and he says it's a lengthy process to harden a community, but Guam has proven it was able to build it over time. Well, sports is next. Andy Wheeler filling in for the vacationing Dave Delgado. Keep it right here.
Agent Alpha. What's that? An Alpha Insurance customer needs a claim settled immediately? I'm on it. Agent Alpha.
In the event of an accident, theft, or breakdown, each of our Alpha Insure agents are trained to go above and beyond.
This is my stop. There she is. Target acquired. Agent Alpha.
Yes! Howdy, folks. I'll never forget that fateful day. I was having a lovely ride with my KFC biscuits when, boom! An easily avoidable accident resulted in a collision of flavors that became my most delicious creation yet.
New KFC Cinnabon Dessert Biscuits. Get it with every 12-piece meal. KFC, it's finger-licking good.
I'm okay!
Holidays happening at Docomo Pacific's Red Friday. Purchase select phones on our popular Now program and choose a free gift, like free wireless earphones or huge discounts on the latest smartwatch. Prepaid friends get free load with select prepaid phones. And get a chance to win a Nintendo Switch when you take a selfie with our new AI dog, Spark. Come in for a happening holiday now. Docomo Pacific, better together. Some conditions apply.
KUAM Sports is presented by Triple J.
All right, welcome to sports. Andy Wheeler filling in for Dave Delgado again. And tonight we're going to get in the giving spirit here this holiday season. And if you've been anywhere near the jiu-jitsu community on Guam, you know this man right here. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
Good to have you on. So we're going to talk about a couple things. You've got a charity event coming up that you're pretty proud of, but also an event that took place recently in Japan. You had some kids out there representing. Tell us about it.
Yeah, a couple weekends ago, we had 3 athletes representing Guam and Purebred Jiu-Jitsu Academy at the Kanto Kids BJJ tournament, BJJ championships held in Taito City in Tokyo. And the kids came back with, we had 3 athletes, 2 boys and 1 girl. And Liam Addick came back with a gold medal performance with, I think he had 3 fights, 2 by submission and 1 by points. His sister Lucia, she silvered in her division, and the oldest of the group, his name is Logan Gandaoli. He had a great performance with the 1 fight that he had. It didn't come out his way, but he learned a lot. So
that's what you get. You learn a lot more from the losses than you do the wins, right?
I think if people would understand that more coming into jiu-jitsu, there'd be a higher rate of attrition and higher rate of participation, because a lot of people really look at it as just fighting.
Yeah.
And it's way more than that. And
well, there's a lot of people that practice jiu-jitsu not to be a competitor, not to be a fighter. They do it just to stay physical, just to stay fit, to get that body moving, and also the camaraderie you have over there at the gym.
I think that's one of the main reasons, yes. But I think as people start jiu-jitsu and continue jiu-jitsu, their reasons will start to change as they kind of get through the journey.
Well, you find your place as you go along. You can't just walk in day one and say, I want to be a world champion. You got to find that as you go.
Yeah, and some people start to be tough, and then some people stay in it to stay in shape, and some people need it for their medicine, mental or physical. So everyone's got their reasons, and I think they're all right reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for sure, learning how to manage a win out of a loss.
For sure. And it seems like everywhere you go, there on Guam, there's a world champion, there's a gold medalist. Do you guys have a trophy room set up over there at the gym?
You know,
because you've cranked out some winners.
Thank you. That's funny that you asked that. At the old academy, at our old location, we would have a full display of the entire gauntlet of accolades that the academy has. But in this particular academy where I'm at now, where my new location is at now, just like we said, the evolution of why you do things are a little bit different, and we don't have that many trophies on display. I think it's more for the staff to clean. They got to constantly dust that stuff.
We got to dust that stuff. Yeah.
And at the same time, I really don't put a lot of pressure on my students to compete. If they want to do it, we'll get you prepared for it, but it's not something that you must have to do. It's just a small part of the puzzle.
Excellent. Okay. So another reason we got you here on the show is to talk about the big charity event that's coming up. You do this every holiday season. How long has this been going on?
Well, I think for the last 5 years, Purebred Jiu-Jitsu Academy and the students there and the family members, they have always wanted to, I don't know how to say it without being too direct, but not get too gluttonous during the holiday season. You know, we all have our...
It's easy to fall into that materialistic stuff.
This is Guam. We have multiple parties and multiple reasons to celebrate, and it's all fantastic. But I think it sucks that, you know, some kids don't have a Christmas, so to speak. You know, they're going to have little to nothing for their Christmas. So we're always bouncing back and forth between victims, advocates, reaching out, VARO, and Sanctuary, Sanctuary Incorporated.
They're two great causes, and you know, figure out which one is, you know, needed that year. You switch it up, mix it up, just so one doesn't get everything every year.
Yes, sir. And on top of that, just making sure you know where your donations go to, and with Sanctuary, they're very specific as to what help they needed.
Right.
And it makes a lot of sense. Like, what we basically do is we ask that in order for our students or other family members to participate in the Christmas party, bring a gift that a 12 to 15-year-old child would appreciate for Christmas.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be anything big, like, I hate to plug it out there, but man, you know, kids like McDonald's, you know, get the booklet of gift certificates that's going to just make their entire week, right?
It's those little things that really going to help some kid.
Really, the stuff that we take for granted, those $6, $7 yogurts at Yogurtland, man, give that to one kid, you just changed this whole month.
Yeah.
You know, so simple things that, and most especially that age group, because that is the age group that's neglected at this time.
Yeah.
The older kids.
So how can people take part? When and where? And if they maybe can't make the party, but they'd still like to donate?
Yeah, it's December 14th, Saturday, at the Fiesta Hotel poolside. It's a sunset
little pool party.
Yeah, Christmas party. We've got athletic kids in the academy, and we just want them to just, you know, go buck wild in a safe environment, and just have a nice, stress-free experience outside of the dojo. These guys are constantly putting so much time in the room that we have to do things outside of the dojo, kind of just like to enrich our relationships, you know, like, you know, we have lives. we gotta figure out who we are outside of the gym. So
and life is about that balance. You know?
Yeah, we're starting at 4 o'clock all the way till sunset, and you know, come on down and enjoy just the holidays. And before you start to enjoy the holidays, try to help someone enjoy the holiday with us together.
Fantastic, man. It's a great cause. Keep up the great work.
I appreciate that. And thanks for having us here. Thanks for getting the message out, and Merry Christmas.
Anytime. Merry Christmas, Steve. All right, that's it for Sports Prime Time. We'll be back.
I am an Instagram boyfriend. Colorful backgrounds, candids, staged candids. I get them all. But now that rolled chicken tacos are back at Taco Bell,
Oh, babe, look!
my hands are tied.
Sunset heart hands! Babe, sunset heart hands! Sunset heart hands!
Let's just enjoy this moment.
Take the picture!
So easy to dip, so hard to put down. Rolled chicken tacos are back with your choice of dips, only at Taco Bell.
The Matson USO Rock Run for Our Heroes is coming back to the Guam Museum, Skinner Plaza, on Saturday, December 14th. Check out our fast and easy registration online at guam.uso.org. We'll be rocking out with music throughout the course. Lace up your shoes, bring your family and friends, and rock and run for our heroes on December 14th. Sign up today online at USO Tumon Bay and the Royal Orchid Hotel or at USO Anderson. Special thanks to title sponsor Matson and all supporters of our USO Rock and Run for Our Heroes 5K.
A beautiful, healthy smile is an expression of confidence. The more confident you are about your smile, the more likely you are to fully express your feelings without having to worry about the way your teeth look.
Before cosmetic dentistry, I didn't smile as much. I didn't have the confidence, and it shows. And since I've had cosmetic dentistry done, I feel 10 times more confident. I make my initial introduction with a nice big smile and a handshake, and I just feel like it really is a relationship builder, a nice warm smile, and it makes the clients and customers feel more comfortable with you, feeling confident, and they feel that you're not just there for business, that you're also there kind of as a friend as well. So, I mean, it's amazing how powerful a smile can be. A good smile.
Since your smile makes a significant impression on those around you, it is important that it makes the impression you want it to make.
And before we close out the news tonight, you know the deal, our latest round of birthday shout-outs from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
Like the song says, everybody, everything is beautiful when it is your birthday. And so we say happy birthday to Basia Regis Pano. This comes from Papa and Yama Regis. Marcella Rose celebrates birthday number 10, and to our baby girl, honey, you are sweet, beautiful, and fierce. May your day be special, and may you have many more celebrations with lots of love from Grandma Ree, Papa Major, and your families on Guam and in Texas. Juanito M. Castro Jr., a.k.a. Lunar, wishing our miracle baby a happy birthday number 5. Wishing you many more to come in life. Love you, Nooner. Say Dad, Mommy, Brother Norman, and Sissy Annie and the family. And lastly, happy birthday to Agnes Kirgua. Happy birthday to one of the most amazing moms. Agnes, we love you so much, coming from your kids and your grandkids. Hope each and every one of you have the best birthday ever.
Hey, remember, you can be a part of the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club by registering online at KUAM.com. Now, please make sure to include with your photo your name and birthday. Well, that's it. That's going to do it for us here on the KUAM News Desk, but stay tuned. Jason Solid